everyone, I'm Marc Lichtenfeld, author of Get Rich with Dividends, and this is State of the Market. I'll never forget how I learned about options. Same way I learned about the birds and the bees, in the streets. I was just starting to get interested in the stock market, and I was literally sitting on a stoop in New York City when a friend of mine rolled up and told me I could control 100 shares of stock for pennies on the dollar. I know, we were some pretty wild kids. Now, this friend was one of those guys that always had some kind of scheme cooking, and I assumed this was just another one of his famous melon drops or slippery birthday cakes. But when I did a little digging, it turned out to be the real deal. You could trade stocks for pennies on the dollar and make many times more money than you would if you owned the stock outright. Now, before I get to the rest of the story, go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you never miss another State of the Market video. It's free and it helps us to keep making videos like these. All right, back to the story. As it turns out, my rambunctious young friend was talking about options. And I'd always heard that options were dangerous and you could get your head handed to you.
Off with his head!
Now, I dug a little bit more and I realized that yes, you absolutely can get your head handed to you.
Off with the head!
But only if you don't know what you're doing. Now, I'd like to tell you that I've never lost an options trade, but I can't. I've lost plenty of times, but I've kept my head on my shoulders by sticking to one simple rule. I never invested more than I could afford to lose. Now, I know, they say that about almost every trade, but this is how people get hurt trading options.
That is interfering! Off with...
Yeah, okay, lady, I think they get it. An option is a contract that gives you the right to buy or sell a stock at a certain price by a certain date. For a more in-depth explanation, check out my video on how to use options, which I'll link below. Now, if you're buying calls or puts, it's important to understand that if the trade goes bad, the option can go to zero. Now, that usually doesn't happen with a stock, but an option can lose most or all of its value fast, leaving you holding the bag, and the bag is filled to the brim with no money. An option can just as easily soar in value, which is why they're so much fun to trade.
I am a golden god!
Yeah! But we're talking about the downside right now. Most people get hurt trading options when they treat it like trading stocks. For example, let's say a stock is trading at $50 and Mr. Average Investor Man was considering buying 100 shares for $5,000. The stock can go up or down, but rarely does the stock plummet to zero. And at a certain point, you're going to pull your money out and have something left over. However, if Mr. Investor Man buys $5,000 worth of options and the trade goes badly, they could lose the entire wad. What average Jedediah Investor Man could do instead is buy a single contract which controls the same 100 shares of stock. And options are almost always cheaper than shares of the stock itself, much cheaper. So instead of spending $5,000 on it by buying the stock, depending on how much time there is until expiration and how volatile the stock is, he can pay $5 per share or just $500 per contract. Now, even if the trade goes badly, and I'm talking Act 2 of a Jurassic Park badly, Mr. Investor Man will lose just $500. Now, watch what happens when the needle goes the other way. If the stock you paid $5,000 for goes up, let's say by $5, you make $500 or 10% on your money. But if you own the call option and your $5 call rises to $10, you make the same $500, but at a 100% return. To put it another way, you've made the same amount of money with 90% less capital at risk. That's the power of options. Can options be risky? Absolutely. But if used right, they actually lower the amount of capital you have at risk while giving you the same or better opportunities for profit. Now, next week, I'm going to tell you my favorite way to trade options. This strategy has been responsible for way more than half of my triple-digit winners. So be sure to subscribe and don't miss next week's video. And if you can't wait until next week and you want to find out my favorite option strategy now, you can click on the link below to learn more. I'm Marc Lichtenfeld. Thanks for watching State of the Market.